I'm gonna eat whatever. But no, like cheeseburger pie is not in the top 3.
Oh, it's so good.
That's how you know.
I'm gonna literally go to the store after this so that I can make it.
That's how you know you're from Buffalo.
I'm not from Buffalo.
Or from New York. Where are you from originally?
Rochester.
Okay. I do, however, like rhubarb pie that stems from upstate New York.
That's so nasty.
It's because it's where it's like just reminds me of my childhood.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're streaming right now, believe it or not. And this is the Daily Fantasy NFL show, sponsored by FantasyElite, the app that you get in the App Store. We have Renee that's going to be conducting class today. And then Davis Maddock and Dave Loughran.
Hey, fellas.
So Davis, his Cowboys won, even though he did the reverse homerism jinx. His Royals are going to the World Series, and Dave went last night to go see the Eagles play.
Only one team did play in that game.
Yeah, so Renee,
it was a good day for both of us.
People use Eli Manning in their cash games.
I'm guilty of
silly.
that. I'm guilty of that.
GPP, I understood, but
yeah, I used him on a ton of my Millie Maker teams.
Someone actually tweeted me, guys. They asked me, "Who is the safest cash game play?" I think it's Eli or Roethlisberger.
Oh,
and
God.
at that point, you kind of have to reevaluate where you are.
You have to reevaluate what you're doing with your lineup.
Well,
right.
no, on DraftKings, Eli definitely was not.
But
on FanDuel, he was. Though.
Before Renee asked me, was Matt Ryan. And personally, look, Dave Kitchen, I'm sure you have a designated segment to rip me for the Jay Cutler thing. But
oh no, he loaded upside. Matt Ryan definitely.
Hold on. Let me finish first. You can't tell me that Matt Ryan, obviously he didn't turn out to be solid, but you can't tell me he was a bad play. Like, you just can't. Same with Julio Jones. Dude had 12 targets.
Dude, what does Vegas know? I mean, what does Vegas know really?
Even without Vegas. I looked at the line afterwards. You still can't tell me that you looked at Matt Ryan and you're like, oh, what a terrible play. And Julio Jones. Davis, come on. Don't try and do that.
I will tell you this. I agree with most of your calls, but saying Julio over Demarius was pretty donkey, in my opinion.
I don't really think it was donkey, to be honest with you. Sure, it turned out like that. But he had 12 targets, and typically at home, Matt Ryan destroyed. I'm not really sure it was what you would call donkey.
I think Demarius is the best player in football, though. Like,
I know you think that, but I also sometimes you let your bias get in front of you. Now,
I definitely do.
He never denies that.
But here's what I'm saying. Demarius obviously turned out to be the better play, Davis. And do I not always like if you make a call and I made a call and you're right? Do I not always tell you? All right,
yeah,
you got
do.
it, right?
And I try and do the same with you too on the podcast.
There's one person that typically doesn't, but we won't talk about him. Yeah. Even though yesterday he did, I got to put this out there. Dan, Mr. Tuttle Gasper,
oh my God, this happened.
I can't believe it. I saw a message that said, "I let my pride get in the way of Mohamed Sanu." And you know what, Davis? I could have lost $14,000 yesterday, and I saw that, and I'd say, well, I didn't lose $14,000, Renee. I see your face.
It was a good weekend.
Right, but to see that, I just, a little smile came up, and I thought, well, he's making progress.
Oh, I wish he was watching the show right now because he would definitely be defending himself. Like he would. I don't think he would
be like, do you know how many catches he had in the first half, you guys? He had 2 catches in the first half.
Overtime, guys.
He wouldn't even acknowledge that he said that he was wrong. He would have just pointed out one of the picks that you guys made that
exactly.
was wrong.
That was wrong.
Well, tell him good luck finding my picks that didn't hit.
Oh.
My write-up this week slayed it.
Renee, you had a nice little pick also, right?
Did I have one? I don't know.
You retweeted someone that said...
Oh, yeah. I talked about the Ravens. I totally chickened out on that, though. I had a whole Ravens stack, and I ended up whittling it down until I just had Torrey Smith.
But
I sucked.
But you still...
so bad this weekend.
You pulled the ultimate tout move, though, and you still tweeted the compliment, even though you didn't use it.
That's the tout move. You know, our buddy JJ at Late
all
Round
my
QB.
picks weren't a disaster at that point. There was still some hope for some of my other picks at that point. I
After
didn't realize this was the only one.
After the 1 p.m. games, he DM'd me a roster that he had that was a Flacco Tory stack, and I was like, oh, dude, are you making moves in the Millie Maker? And he was like, nah, bruh. This is like it was like in the play action or the $5 on DK or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, what are you doing? Why make better decisions?
Somebody had gotten in touch with me. They were like, bro, I gave that out. I gave that play out for this week. I gave that out for this and for that. And I'm like, sweet, man. I hope you killed it. Like, no, I just gave the play out. And it's like, sure.
You want 1%?
Right. I understand that. But at the same time, when you're talking about the Millionaire Maker, you can legitimately give any play out. And if you're not using it, what, did you just fart?
Nah, dude, I just found these matches, and now I'm playing with them.
I thought you were trying to rid yourself of the smell. That worked. You take a huge dump. You fire up
Oh
some
my
matches.
gosh, we are not getting on this.
We just did. But, yeah, there's a big difference between telling people to play someone and actually having the nuts to play them.
The only person I know who legitimately publicly touted Flacco and was like serious about it was Denny Carter. That's the only guy that I saw all week who was like, nope, this is the number one value quarterback, streaming quarterback play.
So now will Flacco go back to 1 touchdown and 1 interception
Do I not
Yes.
count?
for the next
No,
3
no.
weeks?
What?
Right?
I don't know. Did you?
Didn't
That's
hear
the
what
only
I
one
said.
I saw.
Yeah, I didn't write it. I said it on a podcast.
Well, I don't listen to it.
Renee, you write for like 20 sites and do
I do.
20 podcasts.
I don't do 20. I only do 1.
Okay, well, 1.
Yeah,
and the
I don't-
show. So it's
Nice
like
estimate, Dave.
I don't listen to football podcasts, so I listen to soccer podcasts. TBH.
You listen
It's
to
not
football.
even a joke.
Feelings aren't hurt. Don't
I
worry.
actually try and avoid as much football coverage as possible because I don't like to have any noise when I make my decisions. I like to just
Yeah.
trust myself.
Yeah, I do the same
So,
thing. I
Ben
don't
does
read
the same
anything
thing.
Until way
also.
late. So let's talk about this for a minute. There's people in chat talking about Andre Holmes, and Derek Carr is another one that nobody talked about, but it's clearly winning people a lot of money and seats in the qualifiers this week. So this is like one of those issues, like when baseball season started and I couldn't understand that Buster Posey was good. That's been like on my mind a lot lately, which is that you have to use these super contrarian plays in GPP lineups to win, and people will pick and choose when that works out. So, there's people that have been talking a lot about Flacco and Derek Carr, and yeah, they're less than 2% owned or less than 1% owned, but clearly there they are. They're the best play of the week. But so I understand you don't always make the best play in your GPP lineup, but you could just as easily go through the 10 worst lineups in the Millie Maker and pick out the lowest owned plays that scored 0 points.
It could have done the same thing.
Yeah, I feel like we
Guarantee you there were some Rashad
pick
Jenningses in
and-
there.
No,
Yeah.
Renee, you're right, though.
There is. But I think we really cherry pick these examples and kind of give a misleading impression about how to go about it.
Well,
Building a good line.
Well, it's because in order
Derek
to
Carr
do...
wasn't even named the starter until like 9 o'clock Sunday morning.
Right, because in order to be able to do that in most cases, some people just want to throw a dart and they get lucky with it in a Millionaire Maker, or a big GPP. Say you put in 2 lineups and you say, well, I'm not going to throw a Peyton or a Ryan or a Cutler lineup in here. Let me throw something totally contrarian because I'm only throwing, $54 at it? So I'm going to do something crazy. But when you have the ability to put in 50 lineups or 100 lineups, I put 50 in, honestly, and this was a big mistake on my part. I had too much confidence in other quarterbacks that didn't pan out, and I didn't have any Flacco lineups. I had Dalton lineups, which actually did nicely because I had Dalton with Gio and Sanu, but it was a big mistake to not put Flacco in. But when you only have a couple lineups, most people, even though there's 92,000 entries, aren't willing to go with Derek Carr or Joe
Right.
Flacco. And Renee, to your point, there are other quarterbacks that were equally as contrarian.
Teddy Bridgewater was one that actually
And I liked
I
Bridgewater.
thought Teddy was a good play.
Yeah,
No, Teddy was not a good play. Detroit has the best
Renee.
defense in football.
Not
It's
a
actually
good
not
play.
even close.
Davis, don't even
A good
start.
contrarian.
You had... Hold on.
No,
Let-
Laffy, I know.
let
Laffy,
me,
I know.
Well,
I liked him too.
no. you had Bridgewater lineups in the Millionaire Maker.
No, I actually didn't. You know what I did do? I just ended up making extra Peyton teams.
All right, but what combination did you say you thought was going to win it?
I thought a combination that could have won was Teddy, Patterson, Vikings defense.
So that's what Renee is saying, though.
I rest my case.
You can see a way that could
exactly.
It's just like
I think you
guys
could
watch
see a way to Derek Carr.
Do you guys watch How I Met Your Mother?
No.
Okay, well, there's an excellent scene where basically they're trying to come up with ideas to solve a problem. And the eventual solution to the problem is a hat. But the first solution they came up with was Native American headdress. And that's the way I feel about this situation. I had Logan Thomas teams in the Millie Maker, but I did not have Derek Carr teams. I thought of Logan Thomas before I thought of Derek Carr.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make.
It's just idiocy.
Right, and that's when you overthink it. Now, obviously, against Detroit's defense, no one's saying Bridgewater was a good play. What you're saying is, at 6,300, was there a possibility that he could easily justify salary and then put up a decent enough numbers for you to have solid players throughout the rest of your lineup and then put you in a good spot to win some money? Right. Derek Carr going out and tossing 4 touchdown passes.
Against San Diego, who also has a very good defense.
Even Andre Holmes, he was a good play at $3,000. But what he did was the absolute best case scenario.
Totally, for both of them.
You're not going to see Andre Holmes do that again this season. And if you do, well, I'm wrong. But
no, you could totally see him do that again this season.
Maybe, but the minimum salary price tag makes things so much different.
No, he won't be minimum again.
So let me ask you this: if you obviously you have to differentiate yourself in these big games somehow, and they're going to keep coming. So I think we should talk about it.
I don't think you have to differentiate yourself.
Is quarterback the best place? All right, if you're going to differentiate yourself and try to target a lower-owned player, is quarterback the best position to do that at?
No, wide receiver is. Because there will be multiple wide receivers every week who have, big, long touchdowns. And really, in general, you just want the highest scoring quarterback. And quarterback scoring is more predictable. So, like, the number of weeks that Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Andrew Luck, and Andrew Luck, basically those 4 guys finish among the top 2 or 3 scorers is going to be really high. But wide receiver scoring, I think Andre Holmes had the most fantasy points yesterday, or him and Demaryius were close. And so I just think that's a good position to diversify yourself, because people also always think that they're incredibly clever by not using the Demaryiuses, by not using the Julio Jones, by not using the Dez Bryants, and going with, minimum salary, medium salary type guys like Roddy White, Wes Welker, whoever. My strategy actually in general is to try and get who I think the best wide receivers are going to be, get a lot of exposure to those guys in these big tournaments.
Regardless of price or ownership.
Yeah, because price doesn't really matter constructing a GPP lineup. You just want the most combinations that can score a bunch of points.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also going to be weeks where each week and the matchups are going to dictate almost where you have to make specific decisions at. Tight end position, you could have gone cheap there. I had a bunch of Jordan Reed lineups, a bunch of Jordan Cameron lineups, and it's not taking up much money. There are going to be weeks where you don't have that luxury, and then you're going to have to find somewhere else to do it. So I think that makes a big difference too, is where you're deciding, where you're designating that the high money to and where you're going cheap. And at times you can do both at every position. Like you could have gone Joique Bell and Matt Forte yesterday and had monster totals.
So tilted at everyone who did that, by the way.
Mm-hmm. What?
So tilted for everyone who did that. I played stupid Bishop freaking Sankey, man.
You did? Oh.
Well,
I got, like I said in my article, it just doesn't make me feel that much better. Never.
He was a better option than
A-Rob, who had 7 for 70, like he's going to have every week for the rest of eternity.
He
wasn't. I'm an idiot for listening to you guys.
No. If you had the lead back compared to, they were trying to get him.
Wide receiver on DraftKings, it's not even close.
But you didn't know that he's a lead wide receiver with Shorts and Lee.
It ended up working out okay, so I'm not that tilted, but I'm not going to make the mistake of going mediocre.
But Sankey had 18 carries.
You're being results-based.
It's not like the workload wasn't there. He had 18 carries, 19 total touches. He just didn't perform the way
But
we
on
expected.
DraftKings, on
And no
DraftKings,
running back for Tennessee has.
on
Right.
DraftKings, you need guys
But
who
that's
catch passes.
but Renee, Sean Green wasn't in the game, which makes a huge
Oh,
difference.
I understand that, but nobody has run well for Tennessee all
Because nobody's had the opportunity to. Maybe Sean Green earlier in the first couple of weeks, but Sean Green, other than first week, look at his carries: 5, 10, 3, 11. There was no predictability there. In this case, you're thinking that Sankey's going to see the touches, and he did. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out.
He did.
Well, you can't tell me that. You
didn't
can't tell me
just
that
not
before
work
the
out.
game starts that Allen Robinson with Shorts, Lee, everyone in there
I should have. This is
Shorts came in and had 16 targets. He's obviously the number 1 wide receiver. So if you wanted to play the number 2 or 3 wide receiver from Jacksonville over the number 1 running back from Tennessee, then go for it. But you're being results based right now.
It is results based.
Yeah, it's absolutely results based.
And I know I'm results based at time too.
Oh,
so-
yeah, you definitely are. The only person that's
regardless
not.
of the number of touches, how many yards per carry has Sankey had?
That's not the point, Renee. You
Renee-
haven't had the opportunity to actually get into a rhythm when you're getting a
So
touch
if you
every
got
3
40
drives.
carries, then 2 yards per carry might pay off. I mean, I just don't. I wasn't
Well, no,
impressed.
because
with
we
him
haven't-
as a runner
we haven't-
or their line as a
We
line to
haven't
run
seen
behind.
a full workload from him, is what I'm saying. Like, he had the opportunity against Jacksonville for a full workload at 3,500. I mean, Allen Robinson was more expensive than it.
Okay,
We're obviously
I wasn't
talking-
sold, so I didn't use him in any of my lineups. It's like neutral for me. I
Wow.
didn't believe before, and
Insult to
Didn't
injury.
use it.
Thanks, Renee. You're lucky that Davis is not on right now.
Yeah. All I'm saying is the fact that he got 18 carries showed that the play was there. It just didn't happen. And
Yeah.
But carries don't matter that much. One, when you're on a bad team, and two,
when
you're
you're
not getting
3,700, yes, 3,500, yes, they
he
did.
ran 9 pass routes though.
But
Like
3,500. All I'm saying is we can compare apples to oranges here, but you're talking. I guess it doesn't matter because what happened. But and Dave, everybody's results based at times.
okay, well
Whether
I'm
or
not
not-
being results based. I'm saying that I made a mistake of wanting to be comfortable in the decision that I made and being like, oh well, I know Sankey's gonna play. I know that he's gonna get work at least in between the 20s, and I don't know for sure what's gonna happen with A-Rob. But honestly, when they keep if Robinson keeps being this cheap every week, I'm just gonna keep playing him. I haven't looked at prices yet for this next week, but
He's 4,600 on DraftKings.
okay, well that's insanity. But yeah, I just think that Jacksonville Jacksonville plays fast. They throw 50 times a game. Their best running back was hurt. I know people like Storm Johnson for some inexplicable reason, but he's trash. And it was just an obvious play, and I just made a mistake, and because I wanted to be comfortable, and it was not a great choice.
If you wanted 5 for 50, then yes. But the
He had 7 for 70.
He had 8
the
for
week
68.
before he had 5 for 50. And then you
which
had
is more points than 61 rushing yards, by the way.
yes.
Because full point PPR matters a lot, and I should have realized the way in which the segmented roles work in Wisenhunt's offense that he wasn't going to get passing down.
Now that's the thing, but that again, that's a little bit you should have realized. That's a little bit results based.
There's a lot going on Sunday mornings. I was too busy making low cam FanDuel teams.
Right. Obviously it wasn't ideal. They gave Battle the ball at the 1.
Yeah.
They gave McCluster multiple snaps inside the 10 instead of Sankey. We didn't know that going
I
in.
forgot Jackie Battle existed, to be quite MF and honest. I truly forgot he was on that team.
So
Ken, how do you cheer for the Titans, David, knowing that Ken Wisnun is their coach?
to be honest, it's just it used to be my weekend, the happiness level of my weekend depended on how the Titans did. Since fantasy, and more so since daily fantasy, Titans just aren't that important to me. If they get good, sure, but you can definitely drown out a bad.
That's what I did last year with Dallas.
You
I
can
was
drown out
whatever,
rooting for a bad
don't
team
care.
with daily fantasy.
I predicted at halftime of the Green Bay game last year when they were up 25 that they were going to lose the game on Twitter, on record, and of course they
I
lost.
remember a bunch of those.
And I wasn't even mad But if that happened this year, I would be tilted beyond belief because this team has earned my love, obviously.
Aw.
I played Jaguars D yesterday, though. So, I mean, it's not like I'm letting it get in the way. And I did not play any Sankey.
After you on the show. Oh.
But you're no.
No, we helped them
I
out
told
with
you
that,
guys
actually.
that I went to Joik Bell,
We
and
helped you out. You were going to go Sankey until we told you had 200 left over
Right.
and he was available.
right, and I went Bell. But
Which is smart.
This is we're talking about cash games, and we're talking about Sankey versus A-Rob. It's not like a Sankey is a good play or bad play. I just thought that Sankey was I thought he was a safer play than A-Rob.
Okay. Renee,
Okay.
I don't know what else.
Let's not talk about Jacksonville or Tennessee anymore.
That's true.
I don't know what
Let's
else you
move
have
on.
to run down, but can we talk about how...
Hey, Tuttle's back in the chat, guys. Tuttle's back in the chat.
Can we talk about how Andre Williams is Eddie Lacy?
Sure.
Yeah, so I wrote in my write-up that I would take the under on 1.5 pass receptions if that was the line for Andre Williams, and I ended up being right. If that game that he is in goes off script at all, he's like no longer a thing because they'll run draws to Peyton Hillis. They'll like so. I wrote him up. I thought he was a decent option, but I just think that people really underestimate how important it is for running backs to catch passes.
Right.
Like that is literally the number one most important thing when selecting running backs on DraftKings.
I remember when this came up in the preseason too, and he caught that one pass in a preseason game, and everyone said, "Oh, he's going to be he's going to catch passes. It's all okay."
Well, Manning actually only threw 23 times in that game.
Okay.
How
And
Tom Coughlin is terrible.
and Andre Williams actually had 16 carries. So it's not like the opportunity to produce wasn't there, but the Eagles penetrated that offensive. They were in the backfield before the ball was snapped. Like that offensive line was so bad. The Eagles had 8 sacks. He honestly, I'm not sure you can even blame him for this one. He didn't stand a chance. He didn't. The time he got the ball, they were on him. I was sitting right there at the 40-yard line watching it.
That's another reason why pass catches are so important, not just because you get the 1 point per
Sure.
yard, but just on average, a pass reception gains more yards than a run.
Right.
Which is why I think a lot of people heading into the week were asking themselves, Brandon Oliver or Andre Williams, and I didn't think that was close.
It isn't.
Particularly.
I think I played Andre Williams in like 2 lineups out of a lot of them.
I played him. My early only lineups were going well, so I did like what? Okay, so we say that playing the late afternoon games is like tilt lineups, but what is it when you just like are having fun and you just want to get more action in? What's that called, David?
Degeneracy.
Degeneracy?
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
It
well,
is.
I played like all of like the late GPPs on FanDuel, and I used Andre Williams in a bunch of them because I actually thought the Giants were going to do well in that game. I wrote up Andre Williams as my 4th running back and Rube as well. But I don't know. Andre Williams is just like he's Eddie Lacy. Like if he's not getting you touchdowns, he's not going to get you the fantasy points that you want. Which is
The whole game was, and Steve's there wearing a Brian Dawkins jersey that I gave him, and now I had said Donnell was going to get a touchdown. He got one called back.
Yeah.
He did. He scored, and then they called it back. And Steve goes, "Who was that?" I said, "I believe that was Donnell." And I'm sitting there cheering, like obviously. I mean,
You might have to censor yourself if I know Steve.
yeah, I know. I actually, like, dude. I'm like, Steve, you keep that down, man. We're in front of 65,000 Eagles fans. You're wearing an Eagles jersey.
It's so funny because of the way that he told us when we went to San Francisco. We were going to the A's Red Sox game. He told us that we could not cheer for any Red Sox because they'll kill us in Oakland. Steve was deathly afraid of
Steve
Oakland.
was straight up scared of Oakland.
He would not take the public transportation, the tram back. We took it there. He wouldn't take it back. He paid like $100 for an Uber for us to go from Oakland back to our hotel in San Francisco. He would not do it. As soon as he saw all the people in the line, he thought we were going to get shanked.
I mean, that was pretty great.
Did you see that movie about the pear tree station, the fruit stand?
Fruitvale Station.
Fruitvale, yeah.
True story.
Was that why?
Well, that was
I
actually
know my brother
cops.
lives in Oakland.
That was
No, I think-
cops that did that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's
Fink
tough.
just is not about that public transportation life. He's accustomed to living a certain type of way. I think
Public transportation sucks. Let's be
it
honest here.
does. Oh yeah,
But no, anyway, it was like I always say. I'd love the Eagles to win 54-53 every time they play because of fantasy purposes. But then I also get the win. But dude, he's walking into this game with the mindset that he needs Eli Manning and Larry Donnell and Ruben Randall to do well.
oh,
And I told him, I said, look, man, I got some of them going, but at the same time, I'm cheering for the Eagles, buddy. This is what's going to happen here. And when Larry Donnell lost that touchdown, you have no idea what, and then Sproles got the touchdown over McCoy.
Till
He's giving one of those like fake claps because in his head he's like, I hate myself and Sproles right now. Like it was crazy, but it was fun. I'm glad he took me. It was a good time. But yeah, it was.
So while we're on it, is McCoy back? Is McCoy safe to use going forward?
It depends what his salary is, really. I don't think
he's not safe.
he's not back. Here's the
Well,
thing.
if Sproles is really hurt, I mean, he's it.
They opened whole. Sproles doesn't really see many touches, like carries anyway. But I mean, really, seriously, he's going to average like 4 carries a game, and he actually didn't have any receptions yesterday. He has a bruised MCL. They're expecting him to be back when they play next because they have a bye this week. But the thing about McCoy is they opened up holes for him, and that's how he's thrived. Because once he gets into space, once he has over space, he'll beat anybody one-on-one. And that's why once you get him, in the second level, he's going to start making plays. It's, the first, he has to get through that line first, but when there's no holes there, he just kind of stands there and doesn't know where to go and shimmies his feet and then falls down because he's not a power back. He's not like Marshawn Lynch that once he gets hit, he's going to keep driving for more yards. He just goes down.
Yeah, it's always dependent upon their line health, and it was a little bit better for that game. They got Lane Johnson back, but against tougher defenses than the Giants, who by the way are really bad against the run and have been all season and have been historically because they choose not to invest in the linebacker position and they invest more in cornerbacks and defensive line to stop passing plays, which football math would tell you is actually the smarter thing to do anyway. But yeah, so they just don't care that much about being suffocating against the run. But if you want to use Shady in your cash games, you need to check on the status of their offensive line because that's what's made Chip's teams work all the way back to when he was at West Virginia School of Mining and Technology. Like that's what his whole system is predicated upon.
Well, yeah, especially because he has so many athletic offensive linemen too. Like if you watch them block downfield, they're a huge part of that offense, and you've seen what happens when they're not there. But I think
so the two guys that were new last night that weren't there the previous week or two, are they the starters that are back?
Lane Johnson was there last week too.
Yeah,
and
this is
then the other guy was Harriman.
Yeah, no, Harriman was there, wasn't
They're
he?
not. They're not
no,
back to the top.
new
They're not back to their top 5 starting.
No,
unit
they're
yet.
they're without 2 of their best. They have Jason Peters, they have Lane Johnson, but they're out without Mathis and Kelsey. Evan Mathis and Kelsey are like some of the best offensive linemen in football, and I'm not just saying that because I like the
There's
Eagles.
just something with that name that makes you amazing at playing football.
Kelsey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it just makes you just a
They're
better
brothers,
person.
Davis.
No way.
Yeah, look it up.
How many people are going to use James White this week?
I didn't know Sammy Watkins had a brother till I was watching the game last night.
Does he really?
Yeah, he's on the Eagles.
Apparently, I'm like
That's
his
the teamer.
I'm like Watkins' lead stalker, so I'm surprised I didn't know that. How many people are going to mistakenly use James White instead of Brandon Bolden this week in Thursday start games?
Should not use either of them.
You shouldn't use either of them, but fantasy Twitter, for some reason, loves James White. And he's like the most mediocre player ever.
All right, so what's one of the most difficult run games to predict?
I mean, it's definitely... Well, actually, you'd be surprised. You would be super surprised about how predictable the Patriots' run game is.
How?
You can split it down by how much they're favored or underdogs by before the game, and they have a physical profile for all 3 roles of their rush. Since in the Brady, Gronkowski era, the 3 roles in there in the run game have been filled by like players with the exact same measurables.
But allow me to interject here for a second, Davis. What I'm talking about is Bill Belichick is unforgiving in the sense that one mistake from someone like Bolden or White, who he clearly already doesn't trust, that's it. I'm telling you. Even Ridley, if Ridley puts the ball on the ground once, you're not going to see him back in that game. So
Vereen hasn't had a good game since he went out of bounds on that play
because
at the
his
5-yard
value
line.
is so dependent on his ability to catch passes.
Yeah.
Like
He hasn't
I don't,
given
Davis.
since
I don't
he
know
was
about you, but I bet Vereen doesn't even see that many carries.
No,
Maybe
I don't think he will either.
7 or 8.
So
But
predict
I'm not-
it for us, David.
What's that?
Predict it for us before I have to make my Monday, Thursday lineups.
For Vereen,
Well,
I'd
first
say
of all,
7
you're a
touch carries.
degenerate for playing those.
Yeah.
I had such a bad weekend. I have to do something.
Don't play these.
No, that's not even true. I had a really good week last week, and I played them anyways. I just like
But
them.
these are probably like the 2 worst games for fantasy purposes, Monday and Thursday. Like they're terrible.
Someone's going to win.
I know, but
My prediction is that Vereen
I always play the small slates. I love them.
Vereen will see a slight uptick in snaps just because he like Belichick might not like him, but he knows where he needs to be. He knows how the offense goes. I would predict that he'll probably play in some hurry-up situations if they need it. Bolden will play the Ridley role. Like, I would bet a lot of money that he basically plays Ridley snaps. And James White maybe sees a couple extra tertiary snaps where Bolden would have when Ridley was healthy. That is my prediction.
Now, it seems like the Jets are going to be their strength is going to be stopping the Ridley type runner, the Bolden type runner, right?
Correct. Yeah, but the Jets just suck right now anyways. The Jets just let Ronnie trash Hillman run yards on him.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
People unfamiliar with Ronnie Hillman, he's terrible. I didn't have him on for a min price running back. I didn't have him on one Millie Maker team because he's not good.
No,
Which
but you
was
know
a
what?
mistake on my part.
The problem is though, on a team like that, if even I know you've said it, Davis. We've all said it that the Broncos are going to keep throwing the ball. They're going to keep getting up. But he had
They
20.
didn't this
He
last
had
game,
24 carries.
This last game,
24.
Peyton got up 14 points and was like, "Man,
I
it's
know.
windy out here. I'm not like." And as someone who took Peyton on every cash lineup, I was like pretty tilted at him because you could see he wasn't having a good day. Like he really struggled in the first half with the wind.
Meadowlands doesn't treat him well.
It historically does.
He finished with like 270 and 3 touchdowns. It's not a bad day.
but
just bad for his price.
But when you
Well-
take the most expensive quarterback,
Yeah.
you're expecting.
Right, and also though he just, in my opinion, from what I saw that game and I saw good amount, he didn't look very comfortable.
No,
all
not
game.
at all. No,
He
he
didn't-
like a bunch of his completions were him just hucking it up there and
Yeah.
saying, "Demarius, go get it and
Exactly.
get your feet in bounds."
But he has so many reliable options when you're inside the 10, that as long as he gets there, he's gonna score. Julius Thomas and Demarius Thomas in the end zone are just such good targets and big bodies that it's hard to miss them.
All 15 of his touchdowns this season have gone to Demarius, Julius,
Crazy.
and then one to
It's
Jacob
crazy.
Tammy.
It's crazy.
Manny Sanders is going to have the best fantasy season ever without scoring a touch. He might get
Davis.
100 catches without scoring.
Speaking of, he's gonna score.
He
Speaking
really might not.
of excellent
He's gonna
red
break
zone
one.
targets.
right. Speaking of red zone targets,
Excellent
Davis.
red zone targets.
There's a man by the name of, I like to call him Randall Red Zone Cobb. And Randall Red Zone Cobb, now on the season, has a modest 7 touchdowns with 4 over his last 3 games and 7 and 6. I would say he's a pretty decent red zone target.
You guys keep betting on Randall Cobb. I'm going to keep betting on what I know, which is
But
that
he
Randall-
still keeps doing it.
Here's the thing. Here's
How
the
can you
thing.
not know it?
Here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers can make anybody good.
Oh, that's not the point, dude. The point was that he gets targeted in the red zone.
Right, he's making Randall Cobb good right now.
Yeah, that's fine. You
I
guys,
never said
you guys
Randall.
can keep rostering Randall. I'll never
Oh,
roster
dude.
Randall Cobb in a
You're
cash game because he doesn't see
backpedaling.
enough targets.
I never said he was that good. I just said that he's a viable threat in the red zone.
Yeah, that's like whatever. I don't know if I was. I'll tell you this: if I was McCarthy, I would not run the offense that way. But he's maybe smarter than me. Maybe.
But he always catches them.
Well, that's overrated. What matters in the red zone is getting What matters in the red
Touchdown
zone is
passes
getting
is
open.
overrated.
But
Dave,
he does.
say that.
That's
have-
fine. I don't know. All I know about football is what like my spreadsheets and stuff tell me. Like I can't tell you like what routes are better or like what creating separation or whatever. All I can tell you is that what I know is that historically is that players that weigh more score more touchdowns historically. I don't know. I also know that elite quarterbacks, a lot of that stuff doesn't matter when you have an elite quarterback. Like when you run numbers for elite quarterbacks versus like league average quarterbacks, a lot of that stuff gets thrown out of the window. Like Peyton Manning never had a tall wide receiver or like a big wide receiver in Indianapolis. You know, he had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, but I also know that his highest conversion of like pass attempts to touchdowns was to Dallas Clark.
Yeah. No, well, that's obviously true. The bigger you are, the more viable you are in the red zone. But I guess what I'm saying here is that when you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, there's something about Randall Cobb. Now, one of them was a scramble, and he found him open.
See, and Cobb will actually always be really good at that well, first of all, Cobb used to play quarterback, and I think a lot of people forget that about him, which I think wide receivers who used to play quarterback have an innate advantage because they're sort of seeing things the same way the quarterback does, and they know the spots of the field I like Randall Cobb. I like him a lot. I just always feel like he's overpriced in both seasonal and daily fantasy. I just always like other guys. Like, if you give me Michael Floyd or Randall Cobb at the same price, I will go Michael Floyd every day of the week. All of the days.
I would argue that Randall Cobb, while he's not going to see a ton of targets or really yardage, he has been safe for like the 50 and a touchdown.
Until he just stops scoring, though.
But he hasn't, and he won't.
Why do you think he will, though?
Since he's been in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers.
A lot of probabilities would tell me that he would. I don't know.
Several years.
In general, you don't want a large portion of a guy's catches to be touchdowns. You want it to be an added benefit. Unless they profile as a guy like Gronkowski. I don't care if he catches 3 passes and scores a touchdown because for his career he averages, I guess after this weekend, probably like 0.89 touchdowns per game for his career. But if you look at all the other players, Randall Cobb's size, and who run routes the same amount of field, like if you sort them by average depth of target, you're going to find a bunch of guys who are uninspiring for fantasy. So if all of a sudden he goes 3 weeks without a touchdown, he's going to average like 8 fantasy points a week, and then you're like, oh, but I thought he scored touchdowns, and then all of a sudden he's not going to be... In general, you shouldn't construct your lineups thinking about touchdowns. You should think about guys who are good anyways and then also have touchdown probability.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that he's
as a philosophy, that's fine. But I think that Randall Cobb has proven that he's an integral part of the red zone offense in Green Bay.
Well, and that might be true just because there's no rushing threat on that offense. Like, they use short passes to him instead of running it because Eddie Lacy is fat and slow.
They used to run some designed rushes through Randall Cobb, but they haven't done that in a while.
He got hurt. That's how he got hurt last year. Was on one of those. He did it as he was their third down. Remember before Lacy, pretty much when his rookie year, he was their third down back. And then he kept getting stingers because he's really little. So he would run into a linebacker and a linebacker would just destroy him and then he'd miss the rest of that game. And so then they stopped doing that.
Yeah, he's 5'10", like 190. He is small.
He's a little fella.
19 touchdowns in his last 26 isn't that bad.
No, he's not. And like I said, a lot of my stuff doesn't apply here because Rodgers is so good.
Right.
Like you could take anyone almost really any NFL capable wide receiver and they could catch touchdowns from Rodgers.
That I would agree with.
And I think something that I probably need to look into is quarterback scramble yards in relation to small wide receiver touchdowns because it feels like to me because small guys tend to have better short area quickness that they would actually be better on those plays because they can get to the creases in the defense a little bit better.
One thing though, while we're on the Packers topic, I had said that I will start to feel a lot more comfortable with Devontae Adams when Aaron Rodgers starts to feel more comfortable with him because Aaron Rodgers is clearly one of those guys that if he doesn't trust you, he's not throwing it to you. And I kind of always thought the same with Tom Brady until last year when he didn't have the opportunity to not throw to guys he didn't trust. But Aaron Rodgers, voiced his he voiced his happiness or his he feels good with Adams, and it showed with 8 targets, 6 receptions, 77 yards. So it's nice to see that they got another threat there. Now, when Jared Boykin comes back, I don't know what's going to happen. I have a feeling that Devontae Adams
Jared Boykin's going to be a game day inactive for them. Even
I was going to say, I have a feeling Adams is going to remain relevant. I don't think
see why they would switch back.
No, I don't. Now Boykin, granted, what Davis said earlier, Rodgers made Boykin a good receiver when he needed to be, because he puts it in his hands. But Devontae Adams is far more talented and has a ton more upside. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with him.
Janice was in their red zone package this last week, I saw, which is pretty cool. Oh, man, I love that guy.
Rodgers didn't look his way for a second, but...
No, he doesn't trust him at all. That's a big thing with Rodgers, I think, is because like Rodgers is a dick. Like anyone who knows anything about Rodgers knows that he's like not like he's not a very like nice guy.
No, and that's why I'm saying if you drop a pass, like an important pass, he's not going to look your way for a while. It's
everyone ever who's owned Jermichael Finley in seasonal or in daily knows, because like Finley would like be having these great games, then he'd drop one on 3rd down, and it would be all over. It would be Rodgers would be like, nah.
Talk about one of those.
Like, there's so many of those fatherly quarterbacks that'll go right back to the guy that dropped it and like try to make
that's not Rodgers.
Rebuild their confidence. Rodgers is
right.
Not you.
Plus, Finley was the most overrated tight end in the league.
He was pretty overrated. Pretty overrated.
Yeah, so much hype around.
First really super overrated tight end that I remember.
Big time overrated. And it seems that they happened to. You know who else was hyped up for fantasy purposes? Was Brandon Pettigrew. Just terrible. I mean, talk about Stafford losing faith in him. You could put the ball in his hands and he would still drop it. It was.
I don't know. I don't know if Stafford's the type of quarterback to hold grudges, though, because like I don't even know if.
No, I didn't say he was. I said that. Talk about losing confidence. It doesn't even matter about grudges, Davis. Tell me you could have confidence in Pettigrew after some of those games he had.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All I know is that I have heard, no legitimate stories of Rodgers just being a dick. I don't know anything.
You mean Stafford?
No, I'm saying I don't know anything about Stafford and what he does. I know that Stafford is going to keep not being a fantasy option until he gets his binky back.
That's exactly what it is. Yep.
Yeah. I know a lot of people want to be on Golden Tate. First of all, Golden Tate doesn't thrive as a number 1 weapon. I know Evan Silva and I disagree on that, but he's just not. He just doesn't. And Calvin hobbled means that Stafford's not going to be irrelevant. Stafford's numbers throwing to other wide receivers, like every other wide receiver running back for his career, make him look like Sam Bradford.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's someone that, while he's had some good games and he's looked really great at times, you also have to look at Calvin Johnson's production in those games. And I understand that a good receiver always helps, but like Rodgers and like Peyton and like Brady in his prime, they could make a receiver good. I don't believe Stafford has the ability to make receivers good.
No.
It's the other way around.
Right.
Also, shit, man, I might have been wrong about Brady. He's out. He is dropping dimes to fucking Brandon LaFell.
I believe there's someone in here that called that turnaround. Not going to name names, Dave, but
dude, I was ready for his retirement. I was like, dude, this guy is done. He still has absolutely no life on the deep ball, but honestly,
that one to LaFell was pretty deep. What was that? It had to be 30 or 40 yards.
I don't know. It's still not 2007 deep ball. But
no, of course not. And he also doesn't have quality options in the deep game.
No, here's the thing though. Brandon LaFell and Brian Timms are so much better than Kenbrell Tompkins.
Of course.
Kenbrell Tompkins sucks.
Terrible. Well, that's what I was saying. Last year, he was forced to throw to guys he didn't trust.
Dobson.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Dobson.
I really hope they play Timms more though, because Timms in my model, he's Justin Hunter.
Well, did you see that catch he had yesterday in the end zone? He ripped it out of his hand. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a very good player. So I really hope that Belichick. See, Belichick is so bad at drafting wide receivers. Like he thinks Belichick legitimately probably believed until recently that Kenbrell Tompkins was a better player than Brian Timms, which is like so.
He didn't draft Tompkins though, wasn't he undrafted?
Yeah, but he promoted him from an undrafted free agent to a starting wide receiver, and I think maybe his problem is something that a lot of other coaches have problems with, is that they think practice is more important than a player's ability to make plays, which is a lot of the times why we see guys like C.J. Spiller stay on the bench, because like coaches just live in a different world than us, where like we're not there for the practice. We don't see what happens in practice. We're not there for game discussions. And I'm sure Ken Bro was a very cerebral player who could tell Belichick a lot of things about what he saw on film and things like that. But the fact of the matter is that he couldn't do the same things on the field that Brian Timms can do.
So good players can be stupid, is what you're saying.
Yes. No. I'm saying that bad players can be smart is more what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's fair.
Yeah, CJ Spiller finished with negative fantasy points yesterday.
12 snaps.
Wow. Bad players definitely can be. Look at Fitzpatrick, Mr. Harvard.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not good.
Not good. We agree there. Let's talk about Cam Newton in the tie game yesterday. So he got back at it with really no other running game to speak of on the Panthers.
Cam is one of my favorite players, so I can't be rational about this conversation.
I am not a fan. I don't think he's that good, to be honest.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, Cam was excellent yesterday, but didn't it just stand out? Like, he's got Benjamin.
Yeah, and he
and then a bunch of dead air. It's like silent. Like, what?
He threw the game winner. Like the game-winning touchdown was in Jericho Cotchery's hands, and then he just dropped it.
Jericho Cotchery had so many drops in that game. He had so many drops in that game.
He just put the team on his back for that drive. He ran for 30 yards on that last drive. Like, he was incredible. And then Jericho Cotchery was just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to drop another one. He had to have 4 or 5 easy drops. It was, I don't know. What's going to happen there? They're going to get Jonathan Stewart back? That's not going to help.
No, Jonathan Stewart, they need they really need to reinvigorate that run game. Like, that two-headed monster and D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart that they had back in 2008 is never going to be what it was, ever. They need a good running back. I understand that Newton can run, and it was actually nice to see him finally start to move around a little bit. And Davis, I'm not saying that he's a bad fantasy quarterback. I just do not think that he's a quarterback that's going to win you Super Bowls.
Oh, give me him over everyone but the top 3, Luck and Russell Wilson.
Crazy.
He can do it
for a Super Bowl run,
because there's no one around him. I mean, he's got Kevin Benjamin.
Give me him. If like, as a Cowboys fan, if you were like, you can have Tony Romo or Cam Newton, I would say Cam without blinking.
Oh well, yeah, I would say Brady Quinn over Tony Romo, but that was just a dig. I'm joking, David. But
yeah,
you know what's funny? Brady Quinn
you can
before
still have
the
Kyle
other day.
Orton.
Brady Quinn before yesterday was like the only Browns quarterback to beat the Steelers in their past like 24 meetings or something like that. What are the odds of that?
Manziel is never starting. I am so tilted by this fucking Warrior crap.
Did you see Draft Day?
I remember
the
fighting
movie?
About this in the preseason.
Did you guys watch the movie Draft Day?
Absolutely not.
Really?
No.
Oh, well, go watch it because it's the Browns, and there's one guy that basically plays the role of Hoyer, but it's almost not even intentional. Because it plays the role of Hoyer, basically. Like, they're going to go draft a quarterback, number 1 overall, and this guy, who we'll call him Hoyer, had been practicing all offseason. He was going to be great, and they weren't going to play him. And then and then... Well, I'll let you watch it. Just go ahead and watch it. Actually, I'm not
going to watch it. I read the Bill Simmons column about it, so I got all that I need.
I don't think I'm going to there.
Well, my thing is any movie that has Kevin Costner in it, I'm going to give it a shot. Same with, don't laugh, Matthew McConaughey. He's my dude. I mean,
there's so much difference between the two of them. Matthew McConaughey is really good.
I'll watch it.
Hasn't been good in a really long
wait,
time.
what? Kevin Costner isn't good? You are insane. They're both good. But Matthew, hold
Here's the
on.
thing.
Matthew
But
McConaughey
Renee,
is 100 times better.
but he
Here's
used
the
to be
thing. You
terrible.
guys are both wrong because Matt Damon is the greatest actor of our generation.
No, not true. Matthew McConaughey is the man. Like,
Think about how many amazing movies Matt Damon has been.
Matt
in.
Damon has done so many amazing movies.
he's done a lot, but McConaughey was never really given the opportunity. He was typecast and everything. Now he's coming out.
Did you see Mud?
Awesome movie.
Rafi, did you see Mud?
Awesome movie.
Awesome
Mike.
movie.
Awesome.
Loved it.
But
I love
so
it.
was Dallas Buyers Club. True Detectives, one of the best series
Obviously.
in a long time. Like, McConaughey's been on fire. Even his Lincoln commercial. My God, even that was good. I'm like, I love this guy.
No one will ever beat the combo of being in Rounders and Good Will Hunting, though.
Those are so good.
Those are just
Matt
such
Damon
good
is
movies.
just so good. It's true.
They are, but
Did you see that? Did you see that like historical one that he did? I missed that one.
Damon?
I still haven't seen a bunch of movies. I don't really watch. Honestly, I don't really watch that much TV or movies anymore.
I
But
don't either.
he's
Okay.
all of his movies are on my list. I don't know. Can we talk? I just want to talk more about how great Cam Newton is. He's just so good.
We said it enough.
Cam
Ran
Newton,
over
Cam
100
Newton
yards.
hate. I think Cam Newton hate is my most annoying, thing that annoys me the most about football fans.
I don't hate
There are
Cam Newton.
so many things, Davis. Someday you really should rank them, though.
I personally
Things
think
Davis hates about fantasy Twitter.
this is one of those subjective views you have. I really think so, Davis. I think he's a good quarterback, and he's one of the better quarterbacks in football. But you're right now, you're putting them on Mount Rushmore.
I just don't think what he did yesterday isn't sustainable. He'll get hurt. He just can't do that every week.
Well, did you see what Burfict did? Tackled him by his legs and tried to re-hurt his ankle. What an asshole.
He's not known to be a nice guy.
Yeah, he's not known to be a nice guy at all.
Hey,
but-
bud, he's not perfect. Leaving him alone.
Oh, there we go.
That was good.
I've been on fire with them lately.
Yeah.
All right,
I
so
don't know.
let's talk about the game tonight for 2 seconds. Because no more about Cam. Cam is great. Dallas is great. Cam is great.
I don't have any
Everyone
Kaepernick
hates-
teams. I do have some Austin Davis, Brian Quick teams in the left in the Millie Maker, but I don't think any of them are.
I am expecting Renee. I'm expecting San Francisco to annihilate St. Louis.
Interesting. I see it being kind of a close game. I don't know. I see it being a lot of defense.
Austin Davis. Okay, you guys want to hear a cool stat I saw on Twitter today? Sam Bradford in his career never had 3 consecutive starts with a quarterback rating of 95, and Austin Davis has had a quarterback rating of over 95 in all 3 of his first starts.
Not bad. Quarterback.
The most surprising thing is that Sam Bradford had 3 consecutive starts, I think.
Stop. He is a good Oklahoma boy, and we love him.
I think quarterback
He's
rating.
just never on the field.
How much
Interesting.
stock do you really put in quarterback rating, though? Honestly?
Oh, absolutely none.
Yeah, I think San Francisco is going to break that streak.
I really think that, Renee, I agree entirely that it's going to be a defensive game. I also think, though, that San Francisco is going to go out there and play better than people expect. Everyone hates on their defense that, they're missing people and they're not a good defense. I beg to differ. I think that
the Niners, yeah. I'm with you.
The Niners. Sorry, what did I say?
No, you said it right. I just wasn't.
Davis, do you really think their defense is that bad right now? Like, I don't.
No, I think they're okay, but I also think Austin Davis is really good.
Really good?
Yeah.
Mm.
Got to adjust to new information, man. He's been very good.
It's not that I can't adjust to new information. It's that when I look, when I consider this, like, all right, against the Eagles, and I'll wrap it up quickly. He threw 3 touchdowns. He threw for 375 yards, right? 59. He completed 59% of his passes, and the two final touchdowns that he had, anybody could have thrown him. Now, his ability to stay upright and actually look, he should have been killed in a couple of them. I mean, he bought time, and I can respect that. And he seems to have great awareness in the pocket. But go rewatch those 2 touchdowns. It's like the corners in Philadelphia decided that they were going to talk to the people in the stands and weren't even paying attention to the receivers. So I have trouble putting any stock in. Like, let's see how he does tonight.
I'll also say this.
Can we agree that this is a test for Austin Davis tonight?
Yes. I'll also say this. I don't want to
For
say
sure.
he's really good. I know a lot of people like NFL scouts and stuff. Like there's been stuff going around about how a lot of them are like, yeah, no, actually this kid can play. But they've also put him. Now their coaching sucks and their offensive scheme is really boring and bland. But they've put him in a position to succeed by throwing him out there with a ton of like tall, good wide receivers. Like that total, and people totally want to discredit
Wait, a
the relation.
ton or one?
Well, Kenny Britt is big too.
Okay.
Now they still have.
Yeah, because
And Jared Cook
Tavon.
too.
I was going to say,
Jared
Cook could be
they have a lot of not.
People want to hate on Jared Cook. Jared Cook is a fine NFL player.
He is.
People
He's
hate him
perfect.
because he's not consistent for fantasy, but he's a good he's a top 15 NFL tight end.
Well,
He
it's
can
very
block.
difficult. I would say he's higher than that, Davis. If he had a consistent quarterback. Well,
Yeah.
Phil, look at his quarterbacks that he's had. Even
Laffy, I agree with you. I just wasn't trying to incense people in chat who hate Jared Cook because he's killed their fantasy teams. I actually do think Jared Cook is a good NFL tight end.
he is a good NFL tight end, but he hasn't had much opportunity. Who has he had as a quarterback since he's broke into the league? I mean, that tells you right there.
Yeah.
And being a good NFL tight end can be good for Austin Davis. You don't have to roster him.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if they had a competent coaching staff who could understand that Tavon should only play like 15 snaps a game and should have a very specific role, they could be a really good offense. They have three talented running backs and Trey Watts, Benny Cunningham, and Zach Stacy. They have 4 talented wide receivers. If you understand that Tavon is a gadget player and that Stedman should probably play instead of him, like in the slot, but. I don't hate their offense at all if they had good coaching, but Brian Schottenheimer is their coach, and that might end up being the reason that like San Francisco or St. Louis could get killed tonight just because Schottenheimer won't make good in-game adjustments.
Do you really think Zach Stacy's that talented? Honestly,
I think he's like a workhorse type guy. Like he's not gonna wear down. He's not gonna dance around and do the Eddie Lacy thing where he just runs straight into contact. Like he can find the hole that he needs.
He's playing safe, but he's not 100%, right? He's
Apparently,
still
yeah.
by something.
before we close, Renee, I want to talk about the Kevin Durant curse.
Yeah, let's end on a basketball note. Have you guys been playing any preseason?
No, I don't. I've been
Did we talk
watching.
about this last week? Because I
think
played
so.
off last week.
I know. I watch the games and I try and pay attention to it and analyze them. But Lil B had cursed Kevin Durant, right, Davis? And now he broke his foot, and the curse was that he'll never win a championship. All I want to say is not only do I not buy this, obviously nobody does.
When did the curse get put?
A while ago.
Alright.
It was, yeah, because Kevin Durant tweeted something out that he's like, I'm trying to listen to Lil B's music, but it's horrible. I don't know how he's relevant. Kevin Durant is 100% correct here. The music is horrible. Now, I hope he doesn't curse me, but it is so bad. Just listen to this one line in the Kevin Durant, in the Kevin Durant diss. Up in the 3-point on a B like Dirk Nowitzki. B stands for 3-point on a B like Dirk Nowitzki. Up in the club like Dirk Nowitzki. See me on the court if you want to diss me. Let's play a game of 21. It's really fun. I got half-court shots and I'll post you up. I'm Latrell Sprewell. I'll choke the coach. Street. All right, and I can't even keep these. But just please read these lyrics. It's the worst music I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how this type of garbage is even considered music. I'm sick of it, Renee. And mainstream music, not that he's mainstream right now, but it's just going downhill. It's garbage. Hip hop. I can't even call it hip hop. Garbage rap. That's what it is.
It's totally terrible.
That sounds
and
like garbage to me.
I'm really trying not to focus on this Kevin Durant thing right now because all the other sports things are going so well for me. So I'm gonna deal with it and also Russell Westbrook is the best player on a team. He's probably the 7th best player in the NBA. So I think they'll be okay. They'll be okay until Durant gets back.
We'll have to see.
And Roberson and PJ3 and Jeremy Lamb can do fine filling it. They're
Love
fine.
PJ3.
PJ, he's a good player. He's a good player.
I
And
remember.
I know, like, Scotty Brooks sucks as, like, a tactician. Like, he'll never run out the right lineup. Like, he'll adjust too late. Except against the Spurs in 2011. That was actually a very well-coached series by him, I think. But as a developmental coach, as, like, a getting guys ready coach, he's actually very good. So I kind of have faith that they're gonna figure this out for the first couple weeks. I will say that their Vegas line changed 3.5 wins with the Durant injury. So
Look,
that's a lot.
Fact of the matter remains that Westbrook is going to be an incredible daily fantasy basketball option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah.
Price
I,
is
like
insane.
Russell Westbrook is going to be 10,000 on FanDuel, and you're going to have to play him every night because he's going to shoot 30 times a game.
It's going to be wild. I can't wait to put him in my lineup. I can't wait. Well, in lineups where you don't lose points for missed shots, like that could be kind of tough on draft day. But at least it's only a quarter of a point
He
now.
does so much other stuff. Though.
I know.
He's also going
I
to
know.
have a crazy amount of assists because
I know.
I bet
Right.
his usage rate. I bet while Durant is out is going to hover around 40%, which is
It has
like,
to. And he's a triple-double threat whenever he touches the court. He triple-doubled in 20 minutes against the Sixers last year. Like,
did it in 31 did it in 31 minutes against the Knicks with a torn meniscus. He retore it. He retore it in that game and then just got a triple double anyway.
dude,
Yeah.
20 minutes when you think about that, a triple-double is insane.
It really is. All right. Well, yeah, I'm probably going to play a little bit less this week than I did last week just because people are getting hurt and they're definitely scaling back starter minutes and it's getting a lot more unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
I can wait. It's like, what, 13 more days now?
What's today?
It's 15, I think.
Still 15?
The 28th is when it starts.
Oh, that is 15.
So, yeah. Well, that will do it for today's show. Thank you, Dr. Renee Miller, for handling. I feel like the Monday show is the show where everybody just yells at each other.
Pretty much.
And
Are
it's
we
like,
okay with that? That's okay, right?
yeah, but I wish that you had a mute button, Renee, so that you could mute people like on.
Yeah,
just
on the
interruption.
ESPN show.
Yeah, pardon the interruption.
Yeah. PTI. No, it's not part.
No,
of
it's not. It's not
Around the
PTA.
horn.
It's around the horn. Yeah. So I wish you could do that because Lord knows that Davis and Dave need it. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. No show tomorrow for this month of October, but we'll be back on Wednesday with Tuttle, Gindy, and Napster Man. I will see you later. And yeah, we'll be talking all sorts of stuff on Wednesday. So good stuff. Yeah, I do think that.
Can I say one more thing?
Is it about Cam's attitude?
No, it's not. It's about college football and how much it sucks.
Oh, then you're
That's
wrong.
it.
You're wrong.
Davis, I thought you'd agree after this week.
To be fair, Renee played the early Thursday, Friday slate.
Oh, the slate in which Jordan's content raked. I used only
Jordan
plays.
and I talked extensively.
I used only Jordan's plays, and
I
I had like
Jordan's plays too, except for one other play, which was like stand back or something, who was my highest scoring player.
okay. Well, I had a 180% ROI using Jordan's content.
It's probably because the whole tight end thing.
Mahina wasn't on his sheet. I didn't use Mahina, and I was fine. He didn't have
I
Devontae
didn't
Boyd.
use him either. We
didn't
just
have-
talked about using a cheap tight end. Whatever. It was not fun. I did not win all the money, and everything you guys said about it was wrong.
Okay, well then you're. I know Lafay's had fun playing college football.
I know. That's why I did it.
Yeah, Ben has. Whew.
Saturday
Guys,
was
we got
Oh,
EP
Jeff just fired me because
we have EPO this weekend too.
Saturday was amazing. It was an amazing college football day.
No, it wasn't
Saturday
because I
my
listened
kids
to
play
stupid.
baseball,
I
but
listened.
I can't
I
play.
listened to CSU Donkey 88 and played Trickett instead of Ben's guys, and Trickett was. It was the worst coach game I've ever seen. It was. I actually watched the worst coach game in the history of organized football.
Ben's had a lot of on-point articles. I thought that Saturday might have been his best work, especially the early slate.
That's saying a lot because it seems like Ben does a really good job every week.
Yeah, he's the best. I don't
I hope
have
he's
a
not
problem.
listening to this, really.
I don't have a problem with calling him the best right now because I know he's at work, so he's not listening to this.
Exactly.
And
Like every time I give Ben a compliment, I have to follow it with an insult just to try and keep him in check. Like, Ben, you're early. Like, Ben, awesome job today, but your late sucked. It was terrible, and you lost me a lot of money.
DraftKings Saturday night.
Oh my god, dude! And I gave Steve.
My lineup scored 66 points on DraftKings.
I know, mine had 72. Dude, it's terrible. And the thing that was terrible is we felt very comfortable in some of those plays, and they were just, thank God I only played a little bit. But, like, I gave Steve the line, and I felt bad because, and Davis, the thing is, you, myself, we had this, like, very similar lineups, and a lot of it was from Ben, almost all of it was from Ben's article. It wasn't as much Ben's fault, was that nobody really, I don't know, that was a tough
It was
night.
a weird slate on Saturday night, and it wasn't a DK slate anyways. It was better on FanDuel because, like, we had the Greg Ward play and stuff. Which, by the way, thank you, everyone who publicly said that Greg Ward Jr. was not a good play, because that was stupid. Every time you have a quarterback who's listed at wide receiver on FanDuel for min price, you play it without question.
Especially in college.
Yeah, so ridiculous.
because you know that quarterback is going to not be a passer, but he's going to be a runner.
Right.
It doesn't even matter if he is a passer. Worst case scenario, he gets you like 8 points.
What I'm saying is that they don't list a quarterback at wide receiver that's not athletic.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. In college.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a 64-yard touchdown run in the first half, and then everything else from there was complete
You're
bonus.
golden.
Yeah.
Yep.
Swag. All right, guys. That will do it for today's show. Thanks, as always, for a spirited Fantasy Insiders TV show. We'll see you on Wednesday and again next Monday. Later.